I never thought I would have to stand at my own front door and prove that my home actually belonged to me. My name is Natalie Mercer. I'm 34 years old, and I've handled pressure most people would break under, but nothing, absolutely nothing prepared me for what I walked into that night. I had been gone for 6 weeks. Just 6 weeks I was in Denver, working a high-stakes aviation compliance audit, the kind of job that drains you mentally and physically. Long days, early mornings, constant responsibility. By the time I got back to Atlanta, I was exhausted. All I wanted was to go home. My space, my silence, my life. But the moment I unlocked my front door, I heard laughter, a girl's laughter. I froze. That didn't make sense. This was my condo. No one should have been inside. Slowly, I pushed the door open, and what I saw, it didn't just surprise me, it shattered something inside me. My younger sister, Savannah, was standing in my living room, barefoot, my cream rug, holding a glass of my wine, and smiling into a ring light like she belonged there. She was live, streaming, thousands of people were watching her, and she said, casually, finally, I upgraded my life, welcome to my penthouse. My penthouse. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Before I could even speak, my father walked out of my kitchen. Calm, relaxed, like he owned the place. He glanced at my suitcase, then looked at me and said something I will never forget. If you're going to act difficult, maybe you should be the one who leaves. That was the moment my life split in two. I actually thought I misheard him. I didn't. My own father had given my home to my sister while I was away, and now they were telling me to leave. Savannah smirked, not surprised, not guilty. Almost satisfied, like she had been waiting for this moment. She tilted her phone toward me and said to her viewers, go ahead, Natalie, say what you always say, that everything has to be about you. The comments were flying, people laughing, reacting, treating it like entertainment, but this wasn't content. This was my life. The craziest part wasn't the mess, not the shopping bags stacked in my kitchen, not the smell of stuff and takeout in my hallway. It was how calm they were. Calm like this had already been decided. Calm like I was the guest. Calm like the deed with only my name on it meant nothing. I stood there for a second, looked at all of them, smiled once, and made one call. But to understand why that call mattered, you need to understand something about my life. I bought that condo 3 years ago, on my own, no help, no family money, no co-signer. Just years of discipline, saving, and saying no to everything that didn't move me forward. 10 years of working like every dollar had a purpose. That condo wasn't just property, it was proof that I could build something for myself, something no one could take away. Or at least, that's what I thought. I work as a senior aviation compliance auditor. It sounds impressive, and maybe it is, but it's not glamorous. It's long hours, technical reports, early flights, and high accountability, the kind of job where mistakes cost millions, or worse. But in my family, being capable never earned respect, it just made me available. I was the strong one, the one who didn't need help, which somehow made me the one everyone felt comfortable using. When I was 12, I packed my own lunches and helped Savannah finish her school projects when she forgot about them. When I was 16, I stayed home to help my mom, while Savannah switched hobbies, schools, dreams, whatever she wanted, and still got praised for it. If I got an A, that was expected. If she got a C and cried, it became a family emergency. That was our dynamic. And it never really changed. When I bought my condo in Midtown Atlanta, it should have been a turning point. Something that finally separated my life from theirs, but it didn't. Not completely. My father still called it the apartment. He hated that I owned something he had no control over. My mother said it was nice, but too modern to feel like a real home. And Savannah, she called it cold, until her friends saw the skyline view. Then suddenly it became rich anti-energy. I never fully trusted her in my space. She had this habit of treating other people's things like they were temporarily hers. Skincare, jewelry, cash, clothes, small things. Always small enough to dismiss, always wrapped in charm. And every time I brought it up, my parents said the same thing. She's young. She doesn't mean anything by it. Don't make it a big deal. But small patterns don't stay small forever. 6 weeks before everything fell apart, I was sent to Denver for an audit. It wasn't optional. and I didn't want my place sitting empty. So I did what I thought was responsible. I secured everything. Informed the building concierge, locked my spare key in a coded safe inside my laundry cabinet. Only two people knew that code. Me and my father. I never changed it. That was my mistake. I thought old trust, even damaged trust, was still trust. I had no idea that while I was working 12-hour days in Denver, my father was standing in my kitchen, telling my sister where I kept the wine glasses. The first sign something was wrong came in week 4. A neighbor texted me, "Hey, are you hosting influencer events at your place?" I thought she was joking. Then she sent me a screenshot. A social media clip. In the background, blurred but unmistakable, was my dining room. That's when everything started to change. The moment I saw that screenshot, I felt something cold slide down my spine. Not panic, not confusion, something worse. Clarity. I called Savannah immediately. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. Then I called my father. He picked up on the second ring. Before I could even speak, he said, "There's no emergency, Natalie. Don't start one." That sentence alone told me everything. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just asked one question. Why is Savannah in my condo? There was a pause. Then, a sigh. The kind of sigh people use when they're about to pretend they're being reasonable. He said, "She's between leases right now. I let her stay there for a little while." Just like that. Like it was nothing. Like it was normal. I gripped my phone tighter. "You let her stay in my home," he replied, calm as ever. "You're not even there. And family helps family. I didn't tell you because you overreact to things like this." Overreact. To someone living in my home without my permission. I walked to the hotel window, looked down at the parking lot below, and in that exact moment, I understood something very clearly. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a decision. I told him, "Get her out tonight." Another sigh. He said, "Natalie, she has brand deals right now. She needs a decent place to film. Her old apartment is a mess." Then he added, "Why do you always make things harder than they need to be?" I closed my eyes for a second. Then I asked the question I already knew the answer to. "Did you use my code?" He didn't even hesitate. I used common sense. And then, he said the one thing I will never forget. The one thing that snapped whatever was left of my patience. "Honestly, Savannah fits that place better than you do. She actually knows how to enjoy it." I hung up. Not because I didn't have something to say, but because I had too much. Instead, I called my building management. The concierge confirmed it. An authorization form had been submitted. It listed Savannah Mercer as a temporary occupant, approved by the owner's family representative, not the owner. NAMI, a family representative. I asked them to send me everything. Every document. Every record. Within minutes, the property manager emailed me copies. And when I saw them, I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was unbelievable. The form had my full name, my unit number, even a copy of an old insurance document with my address. Just enough truth to make the lie believable. But my father had built a fake authority using pieces of my life. I told the building clearly, "No one has permission to be in my condo. I want everything documented." The manager's tone shifted. Immediately. Polite. Careful. Nervous. She asked if I wanted security. To check the unit. I paused, and that's when something changed inside me. For most of my life, whenever Savannah crossed a line, my family's strategy was always the same. Fix it quickly, hide it quietly, pretend it never happened. But this time, I didn't want it fixed. I wanted it recorded. Because there was something they didn't know. A year earlier, after Savannah had borrowed my space one too many times, I installed a security system. Nothing obvious, no big cameras on the walls, just small, discreet devices. A motion sensor in the entry hallway, a camera in the living room, hidden inside a smoke detector casing. Another one facing my office area, not because I was paranoid, because I had learned something important. In families like mine, memory doesn't matter unless it comes with proof. The moment I logged into the system, the notifications started. Clips. Dozens of them. That night in my hotel room, I didn't sleep. I watched everything. Savannah dragging clothing racks into my guest room. Savannah opening my pantry and laughing on live. "Why does she eat like this? This is so depressing." My mother rearranging my kitchen, calling my dishes cold. My father walking in with tools, saying he might change the office lock because Natalie doesn't like sharing. I sat there in silence, watching my life being rewritten. But the worst clip came later. Savannah was live streaming again, sitting on my couch, laughing with her followers, talking about how she had leveled up. Then her phone chimed. She reached over, opened my side drawer, and pulled out my wallet. My wallet. She looked straight into the camera and said, "Hold on, my card's in here." Not hers, mine. 2 minutes later, my bank sent a fraud alert, a luxury grocery order. And flowers. She had just used my card, on camera, in my own home, and still acted like I was the problem. That's when everything shifted. I didn't call her, I didn't argue. I didn't warn anyone. I shut down the card, downloaded the video, and started building a file. Not emotions, not arguments. Evidence. Unauthorized entry, identity misuse. Financial theft, fraudulent occupancy. Commercial use of property without consent. One by one, I documented everything. Then, I contacted a real estate attorney in Atlanta. Her name was Paige Holloway. She reviewed the first batch of evidence quietly. Then, she asked me a question no one in my family had ever asked me before. "Natalie, do you want this handled quietly or correctly?" I didn't even hesitate. "Correctly." There was a short pause. Then she said, "Good, that changes everything." And in that moment, for the first time since this started, I felt something shift. Not fear, not anger. Control. Because this time, it wasn't about family, it was about facts. And facts don't bend for manipulation. I ended the call, looked at the clips one more time, and booked my flight back to Atlanta. 2 days early. I wasn't coming home to argue. I was coming home to end it. I landed in Atlanta 2 days earlier than planned. No announcement, no warning, just a carry-on bag, a laptop full of evidence, and a calm I didn't recognize in myself. The kind of calm that only comes when you've already decided how something ends. On the ride from the airport, I reread every document Paige had sent, the fake authorization forms, the forged signature. The emails, every piece of it. This wasn't a family situation anymore. This was a case. By the time the elevator reached my floor, I could hear music coming from inside my unit. Not loud. Just enough to feel intentional, like a quiet announcement. "This place is occupied." My chest tightened for half a second, then it didn't. Because I wasn't walking in as a victim anymore. I stepped up to my door, but before I could even enter, the code it opened. Someone had disengaged the latch. The first thing I saw was a pink neon sign leaning against my bar cart. It read, "Stay golden." That wasn't mine. The second thing I saw was Savannah Silk. Pajamas. Perfect lighting, phone in hand. She was smiling into the camera. "Hey guys, just doing a slow Sunday reset in my penthouse." My penthouse. She turned, saw me, and froze. Just for half a second. Then the smile came back. "Oh my God," she laughed, turning her phone toward me. "Speak of the devil, my sister's home." Comments started flying across her screen. Hearts, emojis, questions. People asking, "Is that the uptight sister?" I didn't answer them. I didn't even look at her. Because, at that moment, my father walked out of the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. Calm. Annoyed. Not surprised, not guilty. Annoyed. Like I had interrupted something. I asked one question, just one. "Who told you this was yours to give away?" He set his mug down slowly, looked at me. And said, "Lower your voice." "In my own home." Then he added, "You're acting unstable. You're scaring her during a live session." Savannah pouted toward the camera. "She's always been like this," she said softly. "So territorial, like love is some kind of contract." And there it was. The family belief system. My boundaries were cruelty. Their access was love. I looked at Savannah. "How long have you been staying here?" She shrugged. "At first the guest room, but your bedroom has better lighting." She said it casually, like she hadn't just admitted to taking over my space. Then she laughed and pointed the phone at me again. The comments were moving too fast to read, but I didn't need to read them. I already knew what they were. Seeing, a dramatic sister, a chill influencer, misunderstanding. My father crossed his arms. "Let's be practical," he said. "Savannah has built momentum from this address. It makes sense to keep things stable." I stared at him. He continued, "There's a studio near the airport. It would suit your schedule anyway." For a second, I actually thought I might laugh. He was trying to relocate me out of my own home so my sister could keep the view. I looked around the room, and that's when I really saw it. My office cabinet had been moved. My framed map was gone. My key tray had been replaced with influencer products. My life had been redesigned. To fitters. Then Savannah made her mistake, the one that ended everything. She walked to the fridge, opened it, grabbed one of my imported water bottles, and took a sip. Then she looked at the camera and said, "Natalie hates when people touch her stuff. It's kind of funny, honestly." Then she set the bottle down, picked up my debit card from the counter, and said, "Does this still work downstairs? I want fresh flowers." She said it in front of me, not hiding, not whispering, like access was her right. My father didn't even react. "Put it back," he said casually. "We're talking." That's when I smiled, not because anything was funny, because I understood something very clearly. They thought I was still the same person. The one who would argue, one who would explain, the one who would give in to keep the peace. But that version of me never had evidence, never had a lawyer, never had a plan. I picked up my suitcase, walked back into the hallway, and closed the door behind me. Savannah's voice echoed from inside. "Wow, she's really being dramatic for no reason." I didn't respond. I pulled out my phone and made one call. Paige answered immediately. "I'm here," I said. "They're inside." She didn't hesitate. "Good. Stay outside. Don't engage. I'm calling building security and Atlanta police. This is now trespass and fraud exposure." Just like that. One call. That's all it took. When the truth was already documented. The next 7 minutes felt longer than the entire 6 weeks I had been gone. Savannah kept talking, louder now, more emotional. She stepped into the doorway, still filming. "Guys, she's literally having a meltdown right now, over nothing. She called me bitter, lonely, jealous, and for a moment, people believed her, because she controlled the narrative. She had the camera. My father joined in. Disappointed. "Family matters should be handled privately," he said. "This is unnecessary." He looked at me like I was embarrassing them, like I was the problem. And that almost worked. The old version of me would have stepped back, apologized, cried, paid for everything just to end the scene. But not this time, because this time, I had proof, and proof doesn't care about feelings. Then the elevator opened. Footsteps. Building security. The property manager, and to police officers. All at once. Everything changed. Savannah lowered her phone slightly. Just enough to show fear. My father straightened his posture. Authority had entered the room, and suddenly, this wasn't content anymore. One of the officers stepped forward. "Who is the legal owner of this unit?" I handed over my ID. The digital deed, property, verification. He reviewed it, nodded once, then asked, "Does anyone else have permission to occupy this residence?" I answered clearly, "No." "Have they been asked to leave?" "Multiple times." The property manager spoke, next voice tight. "Careful. We have concerns regarding the authorization documents submitted. They may not be valid." Savannah tried to interrupt, "But he's our father." The officer cut her off. "Ma'am, relation does not override trespass." Silence. Pure silence. That sentence changed everything. My father shifted instantly, from control to defense. "I acted in good faith," he said. "My daughter needed help." The officer didn't react. He simply asked, "Why is there a report of unauthorized card use tied to this residence?" I handed him the alert and the video. Savannah went pale. "It's a family card," she said quickly. I looked straight at her. "No, it's mine." She laughed. A sharp, nervous sound. But the narrative was already breaking. Her viewers could feel it. The energy had changed. She slowly lowered her phone. But it was too late. Thousands of people had already seen enough. The officers didn't arrest them, not yet. But they documented everything. And then they gave the order. They had to leave. Immediately. No arguments. No delays. Building security stood ready. Savannah started packing. Quickly. Angrily. My father muttered something about lawyers. And just as they were leaving, elevator opened again. My mother stepped out, already crying. And the first thing she said wasn't, "What happened?" It was, "Natalie, how could you do this to your sister?" And just like that, the blame returned, right where it always went. But this time, I didn't carry it. My mother's voice echoed in the hallway. "Natalie, how could you do this to your own sister?" Not what happened, Not "Are you okay?" Not "Why are the police here?" No, how could I do this? For a second, I just looked at her. Because nothing had changed. Not really. Even now, standing outside my own home, with police officers present, with evidence in hand, I was still the problem. Savannah saw the opening immediately. She dropped her bags, rushed toward our mother, and started crying. "Mom, she's trying to ruin my life." Tears. Perfect timing, perfect delivery. My mother wrapped her arms around her, like instinct, like this was automatic. Then, she turned toward the officer's eyes, wet voice shaking. "She's fragile. If she spirals after this, it's on Natalie." And there it was. Not accountability. Not truth. A warning. Emotional responsibility. Redirected. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. For years, this is how it worked. Savannah created chaos. My parents protected her, and I absorbed the consequences. But not anymore. The officers didn't react to the performance. They didn't get involved in emotion. They stuck to facts. Savannah and my father were escorted out. No shouting. No dramatic ending. Just quiet removal, which somehow felt more final than anything else. When the door finally closed, and I stepped back inside my condo, that's when it hit me. Not outside. Not during the confrontation. Inside, because now it was quiet, and I could actually see what had been done. My drawers were mixed with her clothes. My office had been shifted. My grandmother's jewelry box was open, half empty. There were stains in the bathroom, scratches on my table, items moved, replaced, touched. Nothing completely destroyed, but everything violated, and that was worse, because it wasn't carelessness, it was entitlement. 1,000 small decisions, all saying the same thing: "This is ours now." I stood there for a long time, and for the first time that day, my hands started shaking. Not from fear. From realization. How long had I been taught to tolerate this? The next morning, everything changed. Not emotionally. Legally. Page moved fast. Preservation notices were sent. To the building. To my bank. To Savannah's management. Every record was requested. Every clip saved. Every document secured. Because now, this wasn't a family issue. It was a case. By noon, we had confirmation. My father had contacted the building multiple times. Not directly lying, but implying authority, letting others assume he had the right. Savannah had gone further. She had listed my address on brand deals, sponsorship, documents. She wasn't just living there, she was profiting from it. That changed everything, because now it wasn't just personal, it was commercial fraud, and companies don't tolerate liability. Within 48 hours, she lost everything. Brand deals canceled. Contracts pulled, emails demanding explanations. One company even requested a refund because she filmed content in a property she didn't legally control. And then, the internet got involved. I didn't post everything at once. I wasn't emotional. I was precise. Timeline first. Evidence second. Emotion last. Just facts. Screenshots. Documents. Clips. And one image. Police at my door, while her livestream said, "Reset in my penthouse." That was enough. People understood immediately. Not sister drama. Not influencer exposed. But something deeper. The responsible daughter finally saying no. The response exploded. Thousands of comments, messages, stories, people saying, "This happened to me. I thought I was selfish for setting boundaries. You said what I never could." For the first time in my life, I wasn't being rewritten. I was being understood, but consequences don't stop at the internet. Savannah's platform collapsed slowly, not overnight, but steadily. Followers stayed. Engagement didn't. Because trust, once broken publicly, doesn't recover quietly. My father, he tried to fix it, but privately. He approached me one evening, waiting near my car. No apology. Just negotiation. Drop the financial issue. Keep your mother out of this. We'll settle it quietly. I listened. Then I asked one question. Did any of that matter when you gave away my home? He didn't answer, so I did. This isn't revenge, it's correction. Then I left. The settlement came in pieces. The building took responsibility. Security, failures addressed. Costs covered. Savannah agreed to restitution. Missing items returned. charges, repaid. No jail. No dramatic ending. Just consequences, the kind that lasts. But here's the truth: no one tells you even when you win, you still lose something. I didn't get my family back. And for a while, I didn't get my peace either. I couldn't sleep properly. Every sound felt wrong. My own home felt unfamiliar, like it had been borrowed and returned damaged. So I started therapy. And one day, my therapist said something that changed everything. Natalie, you weren't just used, you were trained to believe love requires access. That sentence rearranged something inside me. Because she was right. My boundaries were never the problem. My belief that I needed permission to have them was. Months passed. The condo was repaired. Locks changed. Energy different. I bought new things, reclaimed space, rebuilt, slowly. Not healed. But building. There's a difference. Then one night, there was a knock on my door. Late. Uneven. Urgent. I checked the camera. It was my mother, standing there, holding a folder, soaked from the rain. I opened the door but kept the chain on. She looked smaller, not weak, just uncertain. She asked for 5 minutes. Gave her to. She cried, said the family was broken. Said Savannah was in therapy. Said my father wasn't the same. Said mistakes were made. Mistakes. That word again. Not theft, not betrayal. Mistakes. Then she did something unexpected. She knelt right there, outside my door. For a moment, it looked like remorse, real remorse. But when I listened carefully, it wasn't about truth. It was about restoring access. She never said, "We were wrong." She said, "Don't make us pay forever." And that's when I knew nothing had changed. Not really. So I asked her one question. If I stayed quiet, would you have stopped? She opened her mouth and said nothing. That silence was the only honest answer I ever got. I nodded, then said the words I had needed my entire life. You don't get to come through this door just because you helped create me. She cried harder. But I didn't comfort her. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I simply closed the door and stood there in the silence, not victorious, not relieved, just free. Because sometimes justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's just a lock. Holding. That night, for the first time in my life, the home behind that door was truly mine.